he's cross-eyed.
What's that? A cross-eyed lion? You're kidding. He starred in
The NFL?
What's his name?
Dan Campbell?
How about that?
You asked it around, you put your finger out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might qualify them, Mel.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric, and nobody does the wide-eyed, enthusiastic narrator better than Marc Fellhauer. Good job.
I do not co-sign that intro, though. I felt like it was a dig at Dan Campbell.
You don't like Dan the cross-eyed lion for our intro?
I have nothing bad to say about Dan Campbell.
Neither do I. But I think he's probably feeling cross-eyed after that punch in the face he got from the Washington Commanders. By the way, who in the world thinks it's a good idea to let Jamison Williams make any kind of difficult decision? I mean, this is a guy who doesn't have any kind of judgment whatsoever, and you put the ball in his hands? Sorry. No. Bad idea.
Oh, on the interception.
Yeah, bad idea.
No, that's bad. It's really poor. I know people were ragging Ben Johnson for that. I'm like, 1st and 10, middle of the field, trick play. I don't have a problem with that, but you got to execute. And Jamison knows that if that guy's not open, you just eat the ball or run the ball, period. Those are your two options.
This reminds me of the time Michigan State, before the CFP came around, would have played for the national championship when they played Notre Dame, and they had a trick play like that, and they had a freshman receiver throw it downfield, and of course he just heaved it up there, and it turned over, and it cost them the game. You don't put crucial plays in the hands of people who maybe don't quite have the poise to execute
He's an NFL player. Come on.
Yeah.
Execute.
I know he's an NFL player. That's what he kept calling the cops when he got pulled over. So anyway, we will get into the Lions in a little bit, and we will be talking a little Notre Dame football because we're going to be joined by Tom Tafelski. You've heard him on this show before. He is a sports agent whose son has an amazing journey that led him to the national championship. We're going to talk to him in a minute. Marc, of course, is here. Shawn rejoins us in the studio.
Yay.
As he was saying before we went on here, he's like, thank God the Lions are done. I'm so sick of those guys. It's all a bunch of bullshit. And if I saw Dan Campbell right now, I'd tell him exactly what I think about him.
That's a terrible impersonation.
It's awful.
Well, it was verbatim what you said, but yes, the intonation
I didn't say that at all. The one thing I will say.
I misheard you.
No. One thing I will say that's the bright side, and Marc over there loves the bright side.
I give him some grits. I used to make them at that diner.
Those fuckers over there in Ann Arbor sing that song in the end of the third quarter.
That's a great song, Mr. Brightside. Everybody loves it.
No, thank you. But the bright side is...
The song's all about cheating, isn't it? Now I know
why
I love it.
The bright side is, as was mentioned, I was on WDET earlier this morning doing a bit.
That's the only station that has lower ratings than we do.
Right, and they were talking about, and it's funny, I heard this all over certain segments of the media. No more Jared Goff chants. You know, I was at a Pistons game recently.
It means more than just Jared Goff, though. You know that.
I was at a Pistons game recently. What do you guys think of this? And an NBA writer, his name is Vinny Goodwill, really fun guy, former Detroit news guy, writes for Yahoo Sports. So after the Jared Goff chant broke out, when Jaden Ivey, the Pistons shooting guard, broke his leg and is lying there on the court, and the Jared Goff chant started at Little Caesars Arena. Anyway, so Vinny asked me a couple of days ago, what is it with you people? And the Jared Goff chants. And I said, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But wherever my people gather, it could be a pharmacy, it could be a grocery store, they want to chant this guy's name. And I don't know how to explain it.
Well, there's a precedent for this. Remember when the Lions had a little bit of a run and people started walking around going, Stafford! Remember that? You don't remember? This would happen where guys would go like, Stafford! It was like some sort of fratty thing.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not because I don't remember that at all.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, I'd go to sporting events and people would walk and go, Stafford!
And
like they were.
Were their hats baseball caps backward?
No, but this was they look like a parody of Pledge Week chairman from National Lampoon or something. It became sort of this big bro thing where you would say Stafford in
But
this
I don't think that-
sort of puffed up chesty way.
I don't think the Jared Goff chant is that. A, I think it's an easy name to chant, and B, it's just kind of a way of saying "Go Detroit," which is silly.
It kind of is. But,
silly.
they were doing it at the Red Wings games.
Which whatever.
Hey, when I was
They
at
do it
the,
everywhere. I hear
was
at
at a-
MSU hockey games.
No, for sure. I was exactly wherever our people gather, as Vinny said. But I was at a Pistons game. The last time I was at a Pistons game last week, it broke out, and actually there were other fans that started booing.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of like, okay, enough's enough. It was interesting.
We just don't have a good enough "Yay Detroit" chant.
Well, I think.
How about Detroit basketball? If you're at a if you're at a Pistons game,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Before we get into the conversation today, I want to thank the people who make this possible. First of all, Luke Nowacki and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. They will help you come up with a strategy that will help you reach the pinnacle of your retirement or whatever you aspire to financially. We'll tell you a little while how to get into hold of Luke and Zach and get a plan because you need a plan. The Caju Cafe, which is a great place to watch the games, a great place to play some games, hear some great music, and eat some terrific food. We'll tell you what's coming up this week at the Caju a little bit later on. And we want to thank you, members of the Soulmates. You're our Patreon supporters group that make a contribution for as little as $5 a week. You can watch the show. You can get it before anybody else. You can listen to it without those annoying insertion ads. And you'll also get access to our monthly bonus episode. Our most recent one featured Alan Lee. Our next one is coming up soon, and we hope it will include Erica Erickson. Erica will be coming back to the show later this month when her schedule clears up at Channel 4.
That's what you keep saying.
Where we hope you've been. Well, they keep messing
You've been saying
with us.
that for months.
Channel 4 messing with my plans. This is
Erica's messing with us.
long time thing. But the other thing is, nobody on this show works for free. So we want to compensate everybody. And if we're going to bring in extra talent, and believe me, Erica is extremely talented, it'd be helpful if you could help us out a little bit. For as little as $5 a month, you can become one of our soulmates. Later on in the show, I'm also going to ask you if you wouldn't mind considering making a little contribution to Clark Park, because we had our Clark Park annual outdoor classic hockey game last Saturday. Totally screwed up by the Lions, but we made it happen anyway. And
Speaking of screwed up, why is it that Marc and I are sold the Detroit gear and you are not? You're supposed to be the leader. This is your name on here, and you're not doing it.
You ever watch football, Shawn?
Are you glad I've not been
You
in
ever
the
see the
studio?
coach wear a suit while the players wear the uniform?
Yeah, a couple
management.
A couple of generations ago, now they wear hoodies.
Do they? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm wearing a fleece
I got in
vest.
trouble. I got in trouble with Spartan fans last year for joking with Izzo after a
that's
game.
right, yeah.
If it was making a difference, he wasn't in his suit. Clearly, I was joking. By the way, it's good to be back.
What a well-adjusted fan base.
Yeah, right. I haven't been here in about 5 weeks. I think I counted.
I know.
Connor Stallions.
That's
He's a hero.
That's what you're going to go to.
Sorry, that's my Jared Goff.
So your rival won the national championship last night, and you like Ohio State as a Sparty?
I like Ryan Day.
What?
And I love
How can
seeing
you like that guy?
And I love seeing
like him, too.
Wolverines eat their livers. So
I don't
that was
understand how you guys
fantastic.
like him. He's such a phony.
What? Just because he's got the
Dyed?
Clyde,
Because he dyes his
Frazier?
beard?
Yeah, he's got the
Oh,
just.
I don't have
for
any
men.
problem with that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see.
I just think he's a phony. I just don't. I think it's a lot of it's performative.
You're gonna find this hard to believe, but I think this is a fair argument, and I know you believe this, that the Wolverines are the best team in the country because they beat Ohio State in Columbus.
It makes that
and
more
because
hilarious.
they beat the national champs, Michigan is effectively repeat national champs.
The commissioner of the Big Ten, who
It's not
clearly has
more ridiculous than the logic that you hear coming out of Ann Arbor on a regular
the
basis.
commissioner of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, who clearly has an axe to grind with Michigan over Jim Harbaugh still, said Ohio State's the best football. That Ohio State team's the best football team of all time, which is just fucking laughable.
With 2 losses, including one to a very bad Michigan team.
Playoff
in
run is phenomenal. They destroyed Tennessee. They destroyed Oregon. They got by Texas, and they got by Notre Dame. That's amazing. But they still lost twice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If Notre Dame won, would they say that's the greatest football team of all time? No, because everybody would point to Northern Illinois.
Exactly. The Huskies beat them in South Bend.
I will agree with Ryan Day on one thing. It is a good story, the way that team came back after losing to Michigan.
And after everybody wanted Day gone,
sure,
yeah.
But I think that's more about him than the team. So when I hear him talk about that, I feel like he's just disingenuous.
I remember stopping.
Would he be as good of a coach if he was at Michigan State? Would he be as good of a coach as he is?
I remember stopping at a gas station to get gas.
No, because we can't afford those kind of players.
Exactly.
In Columbus the night,
and we also
the night
can't
of the game.
draw from Ohio like the home team can. I mean, Ohio is a football factory.
Yeah, they draw from the South though too. Georgia.
They do, but I think other than maybe Pennsylvania, is there a better football state north of the Mason-Dixon line than Ohio?
No, but Ohio doesn't produce the same amount of talent. Mark, I remember I was in Columbus the night of the game, and I remember driving back to my hotel, and I stopped to get some gas, and the people in the gas station were just despondent, and all they were talking about is Ryan Day's got to go.
Yeah, once again, another very well-adjusted fan base,
And now,
of which I have a lot of relatives that love
they're
them.
holding the trophy. It's really something.
Hey,
Yeah,
Ryan Day loses in Ann Arbor next year. People are going to say,
When?
thanks for the national championship. You're gone. He'll
Will
be
they,
gone.
though? Will they, though?
I think so.
I think you
I
get a
think
little
so.
bit of a relief. I mean, I know Michigan did. They got, 7-5, fine, whatever.
I don't know how many
Straighten
people
it
have
out.
coming back. Oh, I'm sure they'll be good. They had a lot of talent this year.
Ohio State?
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah,
be
coming
fine.
back. Will Howard didn't come back. They just bought him. They can just buy a new guy every year. They don't have to worry about coming back.
They'll be fine. They have a lot of talent. But I think Notre Dame has more talent coming back in a weird way, except for the quarterback. They had a lot of young guys that played.
Yeah, by the way, on behalf of the quarterback, Jesus, the guy hasn't made a sentence. Jesus doesn't show up in the sentence. I saw him after their most recent win. He talked for about 30 seconds. Like, when's he going to mention Jesus? Like, by the way, I got to say hi to Jesus. It's like, wow, I didn't know Jesus hated the other team
Sometimes
so much.
the Lord tests us, ML.
I guess so. It was like the second coming of Kurt Warner. And both of them are looking forward to the second coming, by the
Plays
way.
for Notre Dame. What do you want him to do?
He played for Notre Dame for 1 year. Before that, he played for Duke, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very well, too, yeah.
Yeah,
I know, but Duke is
more
Duke,
Protestants. At Duke.
Duke is known as a hotbed of atheism. But speaking of God-fearing men, I think it's a good time for us to bring in Tom Tafelski, whose son, Jake, was on the field with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And I had a change of heart after last week saying that I would be pulling for Ryan Day and the Scarlet and Gray menace. Tom reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're going to the championship." And I said, "You know what? These Tafelski boys, I like these guys." And I changed my allegiance, not that it had any bearing and not that anybody cares, but Tom's son, Jake, Shawn, this is called a setup. I mean, you might want to try it in your column instead of just going right into the
point.
Right,
Yeah. No, I know it's distracting to get to the point. You're
Yes,
right.
of course. In fact, for those of you, if this is the first time you're ever listening to this show, you know that Shawn doesn't waste any time. He's like, I gotta ask a question here. First of all,
As you waste time.
Tom, tell us about Jake's journey from Mount Pleasant to South Bend to glory.
Well, I don't know about the glory, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Obviously, slow day needed some filler, and I'm happy to bring some Notre Dame football here to you guys. And I got to say, it was the first time that I have had friends from Michigan State as well as friends from Michigan call and start rooting for the Irish yesterday.
Yeah.
So it was, this was a wild ride. I mean, a year ago, he graduated from Central Michigan and put himself in the transfer portal as a grad transfer, which is a little different than the transfer portal that people now are used to, because that grad transfer portal has been around for basically forever. He ended up getting a call from the director of player personnel, Chad Bowen, with the Fighting Irish, and went down and interviewed a couple coaches. They looked at him at the spring game, and they said, "Hey, we got a spot for you as a grad student if you can get in." And he ended up getting the Mendoza College of Business, and the rest is kind of history. Went through this season, and it was an awesome season. He plays running back, so You know, he is in arguably the best running back room in the country behind Jeremiah Love and Price and Aeneas Williams. And I mean, they are just loaded, but was able to see some time on the field in a few games and get special team reps in a bunch of games on kick return. And I mean, it's been, for the family, it's been a phenomenal ride. I mean, he came from Central Michigan, which is, I got to say, is a great program. They put a lot of money into the Chippewa football program and just the athletic program in general over the last couple of years, and we enjoyed that. To be a very small part of it as a parent and watch my son enjoy and the rest of the other two boys enjoy this year, as well as my mom and dad and my fiance and all my friends.
Are you going to mention the pets next, Tom? We're kind of in a run here. But about their neighbors, cousins? Did they get out there every once in a while too?
Hey, we had almost at least a dozen, maybe 24 people at every game. I mean, South Bend's only 3 hours. Mm-hmm. We're a huge family, and then he's got all his buddies that, of course, there's a few iconic programs in the country, college football. And Notre Dame's one of them.
Well, and I assume, too, he actually cares about a degree. I mean, that's not a bad degree to have, too.
That's why that was chosen. Exactly, Mark.
Well, obviously they spent a lot of money on the football program in Mount Pleasant and very little in the investigation, since I think we're still waiting to find out whether that was Connor Stallions on the sideline or not.
Of course it was, and it meant nothing. Get over it.
Jake is a great kid, and he's built like a linebacker. And he could not get on the field at Central Michigan. He got on in a few games. When he first went there, they had the most prolific running back in the country playing.
Right.
And he goes through and he gets his degree, and you're kind of thinking, well, I guess that's that. He goes in the portal, and you're thinking, I mean, personally, no offense to Jake, but I'm thinking, well, where's he going to go? Next time I hear from Tom, he's like, yeah, hey, Jake's going to Notre Dame. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of, he landed on his feet all right there.
Yeah, see, the portal's not so bad.
Yeah, now he's gonna play or be a part of a tremendous team, and he's probably gonna get a master's degree that's got to be worth like $150,000 or something like that. Have some great experiences. I mean, that's pretty cool. What was his reaction when he found out, hey, guess what? You're gonna be part of the Irish?
I mean, it was, so when he entered, like I said, and entering as a grad transfer is a little different because they don't have to worry about credits, right? I mean, there is still some type of academic standards at some of the institutions, but if you are a grad transfer, basically you start into grad school fresh. So he was looking at and had received calls from Rice University, Ole Miss, West Virginia, Iowa State. Michigan State came last minute after he had accepted Notre Dame. And that was obviously a dream school.
We appreciate that. It is a dream school for a lot of kids, Michigan State.
Yeah, a nightmare. Would have called a couple days.
Oh, you're talking about Notre Dame. Okay, sorry. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not State. Although his two brothers go up there, so that would have been cool to have, and very easy for his father and the family to travel up to MSU versus going to these other places. But when he found out, I mean, he was ecstatic. The one thing that the Irish said was, the football program said was, hey, we can't help you on the schooling. So the academics is all on your merit. So fortunately, he graduated with honors from CMU and was able to get into the business school, and the rest is history.
So last night, I mean, two massive fan bases that, I mean, pretty much kind of international too. I think there's people all over the world that know Notre Dame and Ohio State and root for them. What was that crowd like? What was the makeup of the crowd? How were just paint the picture of that experience.
Yeah. So, Mark, you remember last year, the Michigan game? I was also down there.
Greatest day of my life.
And yeah, and it was about a 50-50 crowd, a 50-50 crowd.
Okay.
The one thing, though, that, the red, I got to say, the red shows pretty well down there for Ohio State. But Notre Dame, we were told to wear our green, and then the Notre Dame Alumni Association bought green towels for everybody in the Notre Dame section that we were able to wave and kind of show a little more color down there. But it was a kind of a nip and tuck after that first series. Notre Dame's like, hey, we're going to walk all over them. And then you could see defensively, we just didn't have it. And, one thing I think people got to understand about the CFP, and as fun in the rivalry is, and the whole bowl game situation, you just added 7 to 8 weeks of football to these college kids. As far as ticket prices and stuff like that, this was, if not the most expensive ticket I've been to, one of the most expensive tickets I've been to. So there's a lot of money being made, and, it's kind of on the backs of the student athletes that you've extended the season. And I tell you what, that's where you saw, I think, and both teams had injuries, don't get me wrong, but Notre Dame had a few key defensive players that were injured that were out. And, Ohio State last night, unfortunately, was just a better team.
Injuries aside, I'm kind of intrigued by how they just have done this calendar. Like you said, January 20th, it's the latest, this is the longest college football season in history. And I always wondered, why didn't they just do the playoffs like, say, the FCS does, where they play right away and they play every week and they don't, do it? Because there are schools that still care about academics. Notre Dame is one of them. Was that hard for Jake to study? Did that mess with him at all, or did it matter? Would it have been harder in December every week?
So, Notre Dame actually adjusted their final schedule.
That's right, on the Friday,
because of anticipation. So, the academics, though, the guys just had to put in extra time. And then football did give time off for extra study hall.
But when did the semester?
Wait a second, is Jesus okay with that?
Jesus, it's his birthday.
Moving around the purpose of the university.
Yeah, he gave his sign of approval overlooking the stadium.
It's his birthday month.
He had his hands up.
So, his hands were up.
He said it's good.
I was just curious if Jesus was okay with, saying the heck with academics.
I'm pretty sure Ohio State did the same thing to give the kids extra time to study.
Yeah,
or to do community service.
And frankly, Ohio State, they're all good academic institutions.
Of course.
Except for Michigan.
My kids go to Michigan State, and then we have them at Notre Dame now. Obviously the athletic program, and it's more than just football, whether it's women's basketball or lacrosse or hockey. There are accommodations that are made for the athletes.
Sure. And I know nobody really seems to care about it, but in the academic schedule and how it matches up with the football calendar. But aren't they introduced semester now?
But they are, Mark, and that's the crazy thing. No one, quote unquote, you just said no one really cares about it. Well, I'll tell you who do care about it is the players, the guys that now have to go back and do a week's worth of, catch up for these classes. And, that puts a strain upon themselves, especially if they're graduating in May and they're trying to get everything in. And, or could you imagine if they're graduating in May and then the guy is eligible for the NFL draft and maybe has a bowl game to attend, or the NFL combines? It's just, the CFP, if they eliminated 2 games of the season and maybe started it around Thanksgiving, that would make sense. But then that's also a lot of dollars for TV. It's also a lot of dollars for, home field ticket sales and alumni. And, they do have to do something, because think about this. Go back to week 1 of the CFP when it was, the first 4 teams got the bye, and then you had 7 through 12. So arguably you had 8 teams that were the best 8 teams in the country that would not, their alumni, the kids, and the rest of the fan base would not experience a true bowl game like they did in the past. And we were kind of talking amongst the parents, because that's a great atmosphere. Everybody's been to the bowl games for Michigan or Michigan State or Central, Eastern, Western.
Been a little while for the Michigan State fans.
It It has, but the point being is, like, that's where you come together as a university. The university loves it because I'm sure they raise all kinds of money for, during that program. Yet you're poor Indiana and you get to go on the road and play, Notre Dame at Notre Dame, or you're Tennessee, you get to come up there and play Ohio State and get whooped in the middle of Columbus. I mean, if I'm the Citrus Bowl or I'm the, Holiday Bowl, I'm calling the CFP saying, hey, I don't care who the 5 versus 12 matchup is. I want that team 10 days later to come to me. And I got to think something like that might happen at some point, because the 4 teams that didn't get to a bowl game, I mean, we were fortunate enough to do that playoff plus the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl. We had that bowl experience, although it has changed drastically. There were no, player mixers, if you will. I mean, these are quote unquote business trips. Yeah. So there's going to be some changes, and then it's a lot of last minute travel for parents, fan bases. I mean, we flew in and out of Charlotte because, frankly, Atlanta was packed. New Orleans was, everybody's going to New Orleans for New Year's Eve. And then, by the way, let's throw this major bowl game in there. It's just crazy, the amount of short amount of time we have as parents and fans and alums. And yet, the players don't care. They're just on the team playing at the team play. It's great.
Well, that's why I've always wanted more home games in these playoffs. I mean, Notre Dame got a home game. I mean, the home games seem pretty damn cool, and people are used to traveling to these cities,
Yes. Yeah. And Marc, you're correct. The home game's very cool. Except, it was December 21st and it was South Bend. So, but that's why, maybe for the student athlete purpose and frankly, the wear and tear on these kids' bodies, you might back it up, but that's also why you have to have good depth, and you need 5 deep at, your linebacker room, or 7 deep in your offensive line room. I mean, you have to have that depth nowadays. And frankly, Ohio State, we heard at the beginning of the year, they spent 23, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Windsor, but I think it was in your column, they spent $23.5 million in NIL money. I mean, they put, a very good team on the field, but a lot of good depth in the backside of it too.
Well, Tom, if that gave them an unfair advantage over, a really impoverished school like Notre Dame, we feel really bad about that. And until we heard you, I didn't realize what a burden it was to have to go to the national championship. So if this helps at all, I'd be happy to pick up that burden next year and suffer through a Spartan national championship run. But it's obviously your life blows, so we'll let you get back to it.
I didn't.
Oh, you're still talking? Okay, wait a minute.
It is hard though. I mean, I had to make a decision. Like, okay, is Michigan? Do I go to the Rose Bowl? Right? Do I go to this esteemed bowl game that Michigan hasn't been in a while, or do I roll the dice and hope they make the national championship? And that's because I can't afford to go to both.
That's hard.
Yeah, every other school in the country's like, thank God we don't have to make those decisions.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, ML, a clarification: Notre Dame is not an impoverished program.
Oh, that's right. No,
that's one thing for sure. However,
I thought that was just fake gold on their helmets. That's real. That's gold leaf.
We do talk about the NIL dollar spent, and that's. I mean, I think people got to understand that is a factor. You're not only getting necessarily that quote unquote best player at the position, but you're getting a hell of a lot of depth at others, as well as Notre Dame did. And
well, that's why they're making room for the Jake Tafelskis in that running back room. They need the depth.
Before we wrap with you, Tom, I want to ask, because you're also
spring ball's about to start, Tom. We gotta get moving on here.
You're also an NFL agent. I mean, that's with the NIL. That's got to encourage kids to come back. Is that a problem? Do you have like people you're working with that you? Can you be an agent for both the NFL and for college football?
So the technical answer is you can only do one, not the other, right?
Well, now you're fighting each other for a guy.
There's a lot of I will liken this to, it's a lot like baseball where kids are baseball and hockey where kids are drafted at age 18, right? Yeah. Because you're coming out of high school and now you're going to college. It's very difficult. The landscape on that is changing, Mark. It absolutely is changing.
Good.
On that. I am not crying about it as a parent. It's been awesome. But if the Soul of Detroit would like to have a fundraiser for this last month's Amex card on mine, I'd be happy to accept that.
Yeah,
we're
fundraiser for my
taking up
own
a
Amex
collection.
card. Yeah, when he does.
We're taking them. First, we're going to get you a big hanky, and then if there's anything left over, we'll
After this morning, we needed a few tears were shed, a few Irish eyes were crying.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
A hell of a year, though.
It happens a
It
lot.
was a great run.
Well,
great one.
Congrats to Jake, and we hope that he's back in the national championship against his dream school, Michigan State, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it then.
That would be awesome. It'd be a family affair. His brothers would get to go, and I'm sure they'd go.
And
on
his grandparents and the neighbors and the cousins and Jesus Christ, how many Tafelskis are there?
City of Dearborn.
It's a prolific family.
There's a lot.
Yeah. But don't name them all. We got to go. We got to sell some ads here. Okay, Tom, we'll see you when you get back to Detroit.
See you guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Go Irish.
Bye. Wow, that's cool, though. What an experience, man.
Well, just think about that, and Jake's a good kid, but he couldn't make the starting lineup at Central Michigan. All of a sudden, he's on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and next thing you know, they're going to the national championship. That's a pretty amazing story. Might be a good story for the Free Press Sports Department.
Probably not.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
You got a new editor, Shawn.
Yeah, just trying to help out.
And his name's Elric.
Yeah. Shawn loves change. He likes reporting to new people all the time.
We wrote about your rec league hockey people.
I understand did very well. And wrecking hockey, by the way, that's what the Lions do. So we had our charity game last week. You caught Mike Rattay on the show, and we were able to pull our game off. As we told you last week, we were supposed to go on at 7:30 Saturday night. Then we find out the Lions are going at 8. So all of a sudden people are like, I can't play. Now we're asking guys to pay $200 each to play in a charity hockey game. And these are guys who play a couple of times a week. So playing another game during the week is not that much of a thrill. They love to support the kids of Southwest Detroit. They love to play outdoors. So there's that. But the Lions playing in, a home playoff game, we can't compete with that. So we switched everything to 9:30 in the morning. And Costa Papista and Jerry Burke, who helped me put the teams together, we're scrambling. Can you play? Can you move? We're trying to change everything. Then, we got to get the refs changed to the morning because the women's game is still at 6. So can we have the refs come out twice in one day? They already have games booked, so we're dealing with replacing the refs. Then we're dealing with, goalie drops out at the last minute. You got to find a goalie. Finally, Saturday morning rolls around. I'm like, these effing Lions. I came this close to cursing them, but I said, no, too many people will be mad at me, so I won't. And we get up to go play the game, and what happens? It's frigging raining out. I'm like,
oh, no.
Damn, we're trying to play hockey outside, and it's raining. It's the one thing that we didn't anticipate happening, but somehow we got through the game. We raised some money.
What'd you raise, do you know? Approximately?
I think we're going to raise $40,000 or more.
Hey,
we're still
good.
tallying it, and I'll put a link on our website to the fundraising website because we still haven't hit our goal for our online patronicity
that's good,
fundraiser.
That's good.
But it was a great time. The Winter Carnival, it cooled down in time for the Winter Carnival to actually be a dry, outdoor, cold event. And then the women took the ice at about 5:30. They got on a little bit early, had a great game. And so it all worked out, and we could all be home in time to watch the Lions. And
you actually watched? Because you don't watch the Lions.
no, I tried to get some rest, and then because of
really
course
didn't watch?
I'm putting this game on when I'm recovering from COVID, so I'm already exhausted. I wash, so I supply all the jerseys and some of the socks for the game. So traditionally, we play the game, we go have a drink, then I go home and start the laundry. So I was doing laundry while watching the Lions, but my basement was full of Lions fans who were losing their frigging minds. Meanwhile, I'm monitoring the Michigan State hockey game in East Lansing because fantastic game
On Friday.
at Yost on Friday. And, obviously,
Saturdays wasn't so great.
obviously I'm not a Wolverine fan, and I don't really get that excited about the big house. But Yost is, if you've never been to Yost, it is not only metaphorically, but literally a cathedral of hockey. I mean, it is one of the best places you will ever see a hockey game. And it was a really, really good game. It was a lot of fun. And you know, before I get to Saturday's hockey game, which Michigan State lost 3-2 in overtime.
Another hockey game? Are you pulling? You know what we're going to call this right now?
What?
He's pulling a Tafelski.
Oh, geez. Well, I did go with a friend, and my friend had his son there, and my friend's son had a son's friend there, and we talked about his cousin and his grandma, and we walked next door from there. But
Get to the fourth hockey game. What the fuck?
So before Michigan State won against Michigan at Munn, and as you can imagine, it was a slugfest. Michigan dropped to number 2 in the country, even though it took most of the points. But here's what I want to say for our Western Michigan friends. The Bronco hockey team moved up to number 3 in the country from number 4 because they are having a fantastic season. Michigan is top 10 in college hockey. There's a lot of great college hockey going on in this state, and that season is not over. So,
is there really a top 10? I mean, there are only like 10 teams that play college hockey, right?
Yeah, the pairwise.
Forgive him.
I think Michigan was 12.
Father, he knows not what he says. Now
Boston
the Lions
College,
season is over. Boston College is number 1
some
again.
team in New Hampshire, maybe?
Both Boston
The
teams.
Wildcats.
Yeah, Maine.
Wisconsin.
Denver.
Denver. Yeah.
There's a few teams in Minnesota, as you might imagine.
Let me ask you, Shawn, how many Big Ten hockey teams are there?
I don't know, 3?
7. Which is weird.
This kid over here. But anyway, so no, I was paying attention to Michigan State hockey while the Lions were
You're like, there's probably 10 of you.
flopping.
Probably 10 people did that.
Flopping.
Most people were focused on the Lions and Lions alone.
Everybody was. I mean, it's
Devastating.
It's
for a lot of
crazy.
people. I've never heard a stadium that shell-shocked in my life. Like, walking around, people were just like ghost-faced. Just,
Jared Goff.
this wasn't supposed to happen. How did this happen? How is our offense turning the ball over this much? Like, and that really was the game, right? The turnovers.
Yeah.
So I think everyone was just surprised. You expect to beat the 6th seed when you're the 1 seed and you have a bye, and they didn't. And now the team's falling apart because coaches are leaving.
You know, interesting thing. I think we had this in the Free Press today. Ben Johnson.
Benedict Johnson.
Yes, he is the first Lions coordinator
Since 1963.
to become a head coach since Don Shula in 1963.
That's something.
Now,
incredible.
there are a couple
That
of
tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it?
Yeah,
There are a couple of assistant.
been.
Yeah, there's a couple of assistant coaches who became head coaches. One of them was Chuck Knox, who went to the Rams in the 70s.
Yeah, Belichick.
But and Belichick, right? But he didn't go from the Lions to a head coaching job. He went to another coaching. And I think when he was here, he was also like a lacrosse coach at maybe Catholic Central or something.
Oh, really?
Did he coach hockey too?
Some people consider lacrosse hockey on grass. Brendan Shanahan's brother, by the way, outstanding lacrosse player. But here's a question.
See what you did there, Shawn.
If you guys don't know, I'm ready for Shawn.
What did
You gave him a window to just
I know.
babble about lacrosse for 20 seconds.
If you guys don't know the answer to this, I challenge
we
our
don't.
audience
No,
to
we
come
don't.
up with the answer.
Don't even ask it. We don't know.
Who was the last Detroit Lions head coach to become a head coach for somebody else after they left the Lions? Because this is like this is where you
that's ever happened,
end
has
your
it?
career. Well, I can't think of one. That's why I'm wondering if there's any
can't
real
think of it.
hardcore stat freaks out there.
Darryl Rogers, I don't know. Monty Clark didn't.
No.
Wayne Fonts didn't.
Big Buck.
Caldwell still didn't after that. No. Joe Schmidt didn't.
No, he focused on business. I mean,
Patricia might someday, I guess.
who was the angry coach who became a coordinator somewhere else? Jim Schwartz.
Oh, Jim Schwartz is. Yeah, he's still out there.
And I think that the shovel guy, my pick is sharp and my shovel.
Bobby Ross.
Rod Marinelli.
Marinelli.
Marinelli, okay,
Marinelli
yeah.
became an assistant coach or a
Yeah.
coordinator somewhere else. But yeah, if you're a head coach at the Lions.
That's why his last 2 years have been ridiculous, because the franchise has sucked so much. And when you follow him and care about him as much as a lot of people in the city do, myself included, I'm not mad that they lost. It's just kind of like,
Well, Campbell told him in the locker room last year, you may never get this far again. And that's somewhat prescient. But, Shawn, what was he like after the game? You guys were hanging out, right? Doing bong hits and shit.
I'm sorry, I can't lean up right now. I'm too tired. Did you ask me a question?
Yeah, Tom. Tom's about to jump in here, Shawn. It's a very narrow window for you to crawl through.
Shawn came in today. I'm like, hey man, he looks energized. He looks pretty pumped up. And I was about to say that to you, and you go, I'm really tired.
No, it was just cold outside, so maybe you saw a little perkiness or something.
Some color in your face.
He was crestfallen. He was in tears. He was in tears. He was heartbroken.
Have you ever seen him like that? Was he like that after last year's game?
He was like that after, was it the first or second season when they lost that tough one at Minnesota?
Yeah.
He was like that. He was a little bit like that last year after San Francisco. Not quite like this, but it was close.
I don't know how anybody can't like that guy.
It sounds like he's a big baby. Can't win the big game.
Say that to his face.
Let's get rid of him. I'll talk to him right now. He can bring the Bernsteins with him. I'll take them all on. If they kick my ass, I'll call Mike and we'll sue him.
He took the blame. He took responsibility, and like a good coach does. And
didn't throw anybody under the bus.
No, I know. Could barely, and he could have easily.
So since he won, I'll ask you, how much is he to blame in coaching decisions? Not just him, but Ben and Aaron Glenn's defense.
I don't know. I think there was.
Is it that, or is it just execution and injuries and depth problems catching up to him?
To me, the biggest thing is that they just didn't. They were built to play a certain way, to have a certain kind of balance, offense and defense, and even balance within the offense. And once the defense went down, it kind of threw everything off, including the balance within the offense, because once you fall behind, when your defense can't stop anybody, as the defense did not stop anybody the last couple of months of the season, or at least the last 6 weeks, it throws you out of whack. I think the expectation, the bye week, just a lot of stuff. They were just a little bit off. And Campbell talked about that yesterday on Mondays. We just couldn't quite get right and couldn't quite find our way, and which is unusual because it's been a tough-minded, mentally resilient team the last couple of years, and to sort of see that performance, I think that's what was so surprising, is he's been able to push all the right buttons. I hate that cliche, but it's true. All this time to get his guys, and he couldn't find it in those 2 weeks leading up to that game. And I think that's what he was most disappointed with himself.
It just sucks because, 2 months ago, they turned the ball over 5 times against Houston, and the defense manages to make Houston keep kicking field goals, and they win that game.
They had McNeil, they had Carlton Davis, they had, I'm trying to remember, Anceloni was back the other night, but they were a little healthier defensively.
Sure. But just when you watch that game and you see, okay, you can turn the ball over and hold them and get stops.
Yeah, Houston also is not the same offensive team that Washington is.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But
you guys were both there. I was in a basement
watching
jerseys,
watching hockey.
And no. I watched the football game, but I was doing some laundry too.
Were you wearing your Spartans gear?
Was I wearing my Spartans?
Were you chuckling?
Yeah, I was wearing Spartan sweats and maybe a pullover. But what was it like?
So then Mike's responsible for the loss.
What was it like?
I'm good with that.
Hey, that's fine. I figure we're even now. The Lions have learned if you mess with the Clark Park hockey game, you will pay a price, and I hope they remember that next year. But what was it like in Ford Field?
As if
you guys
they
were both
picked the schedule.
What was it like at Ford Field?
You know what? I don't want an excuses, Mark. They messed with us.
Be mad at the NFL.
Did he just ask what it was like in Ford Field?
Yeah.
It was. Everybody was jubilant. It was elated. It was the happiest I've ever seen people. It was great.
Really? That's not what you're saying before.
Well, before kickoff.
But when did the air go out of the room? Was there a point where the fans?
Early second quarter,
the fumble was big.
The fumble.
You do have an answer, Mr. Helper.
I think people realized they weren't going to be able to stop him early on. It was tense, and resignation started creeping in.
Oh, halftime.
Pretty much.
Now, were you surprised? Because one thing about this team that's impressed me is they seem to have, not going to say the G word, but they have a lot of resilience.
Wait, didn't we just talk about that? You didn't listen? Okay.
Yeah, you did say that.
I was doing my Shawn imitation.
Good to know. Good to know.
It was jubilant.
Good to know.
The whole game was jubilant. I can't sit up straight.
Now you sound like Killian Murphy in Peaky Blinders.
Actually, it's probably the interception that really just
without
destroyed everybody. The pick six.
Yeah, that's when.
It was just like, oh
But
god!
the
Not
fumble-
only are we not going to stop them, but now we just gave them a possession.
Yeah,
of points.
so then they were down 2 scores, and that was that. Yeah, and that was in the second quarter.
No, it was pretty impressive. But they came back. They had their shot, and they really rallied back.
They cut it to 3 in the third, and then they went on. Washington went on an 8.5 minute, 15, 16 play drive and scored a touchdown.
Just killed them. Yep.
And then that was really it.
Followed with
Did
an interception.
fans stay all the way
J-Mo
till the
play.
end? Did anybody leave early?
Oh, I left early.
Yeah, people started leaving.
Fuck yeah.
People started leaving early in the fourth quarter.
Have you ever been to Ford Field? I mean, that's just the fault of the structure of parking and the roads of Detroit, and getting out of there is a nightmare. So yeah, I encourage everyone, if you think it's a foregone conclusion they're going to lose,
You're not a real
get
fan.
the fuck out of there.
You're not a real fan. You stay to
Bullshit.
the end, and
But
you
it's
pay
the last
respect
game of
to
the season.
15-2 team, the team that's given you so much joy the last couple of years. You stay there and support them. What the heck?
I supported him for a lot of the game, and then I'm like, oh god,
as
that's
William
right.
Mace-
The traffic around the stadium is just
Or
boring.
as William Macy said in Fargo, what the Christ?
Now, Shawn, you've been to, I think, all the Lions home games, right?
This year, yes.
Do you think that
No,
there
I
were
don't.
more people who were there for the whole season, or people who got tickets for this sort of extravaganza who might have been less committed to the team than people who sat through game 1 through game 17?
I don't know. I'm sure the bulk of the fans were. Well, I'm sure all the season ticket holders were there. I don't know what percentage that is. Do you, Mark?
I don't know, no. But I don't think they sold it because they had the opportunity to make money.
Yeah,
on
no,
it.
but I can't believe Mark left early. It's not cool. He should be stripped of his season tickets, and so should his family, because they probably left early too.
Two elderly parents with us. We didn't want to sit in a car all day.
Don't make excuses for your.
I was supposed to stay for the end of that. It was atrocious.
Not a lot of grit there.
Yeah, no, exactly. How do you expect the team to play if you're going to give up?
It clearly affected them. It clearly motivated them to come back when I left.
So this isn't really
Oh,
on,
it took
on
their
my-
spirit. It sapped their spirit.
on my quasi-curse. It feels like it's more on Fellhauer.
Pretty much. This
Okay.
is surprising
I'll take it. Blame
because
me.
Mark's such just a fun-loving, generous soul, and to hear that he basically fucked over the Lions like that—that's really something.
Wow. Do they come back next year? Can they do it without Johnson and without Aaron Glenn?
Can they do it without Fellhauer? I mean, that's my question.
Yeah, barely. I'm not allowed to go to any more
We
games.
know the answer to that. They didn't.
That's my question.
When he left, so did Hope.
I guess I did see them lose to the Bills this year.
All right,
too,
my last thought before we get to the Geek of the Week is you asked that question.
Oh, now you're in charge?
We're going to find out. Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Right now I am. We're going to find
You gonna
out.
cry like Dan Campbell?
We're going to find out what kind of coach he is. Is he Andy Reid? Is he Bill Belichick? Does it not matter who the assistants are? And they're going to keep this thing rolling. He does not have Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, but you know what he does have? He's got Brad Holmes.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he's got Brad Holmes.
I mean, he picked Johnson and Glenn, didn't he? I mean, Johnson didn't call the plays right off the bat.
No, he did. No. I think
Yeah, Dan Campbell called the
I
plays,
think-
and it wasn't going too well, and he led the passing game coordinator at the time, which
This
is Ben
is gonna
Johnson. Go, take over the offense, and it was brilliant.
Sound like a hot take? Maybe it's not a hot take. Whatever. I think they're gonna. If Glenn leaves, I think they'll have a harder time replacing him and what he brought because
I would agree
he
with
is
that.
a shorter Campbell.
Yeah.
He has. Yeah. We'll see if Johnson can be a leader in that way.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting to hear you say that, because I remember when people wanted to run Aaron Glenn out of town.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah, and now you're saying that he may be more valuable than Ben Johnson.
Well, partly because Campbell was the low key. I had a colleague, a friend in the business who's a football guy, was telling me a story from some NFL people, scouts, and some other people that said Cliff Kingsbury was the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders and thought of as a very, very innovative, one of the more innovative minds in offensive football in the last 15 years, college or pros. These NFL people were saying if you took Dan Campbell and Cliff Kingsbury and put them behind a curtain and put something in their mouth that you couldn't tell who was speaking, and then it said, talk about offense, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell purposefully plays that down
Yeah.
for various reasons, right?
Well, he comes across a little bit of a meathead when you're talking about biting kneecaps and stuff like that. But the guy is pretty damn smart.
No,
when you hear him
he's
talk.
his kind of his own genius, and he said this the other day. It's the closest I've ever heard him admit. he kind of was talking about the mistake he made with Anthony Lynn, the first offensive coordinator whom he had, his friend of his, whom he had to fire, and then he took over the play calling. And Carlos Menarez actually asked him a good question. He said, "What'd you learn from that?" And he said, "I learned that I've got to be involved." He said, "I just let Goff and Lynn go do their thing and design, and Lynn was going to call the plays. I wanted to build the culture and the roster and develop." And so he worked very, very closely with Brad Holmes the first half of that season.
It's funny hearing you say this because I've been reading a lot about Benedict Johnson leaving for the Bears, and they're just thrilled because this is the number one candidate everybody wanted. I'm sitting there going, I think I'd be happier with Aaron Glenn being my head coach. Just maybe it's that aspect of having played the game and players seem to respond to that. Not that Johnson couldn't get them to respond, but you feel like you would get that more out of Aaron Glenn.
And maybe Johnson's going to be like Sean McVay for the Rams, just this young,
sure,
really
wonderkind.
Exactly, offensively. But no, we're going to find out, Mike, what kind of coach Campbell really is. Is this him?
Elrick's over there daydreaming about college hockey.
Is this him and Holmes and their culture, and can they just replenish and keep this thing moving and develop and identify talent like the great front office coaching tandems do in this league? We'll see. We're about to find out.
Well, I would think one of the reasons a guy like Ben Johnson is able to call all those crazy plays is because you have a head coach who says we're going to take chances, and that he has built a culture where if you come in there with some sort of one of these, the Free Press sports department under Gene Myers had this philosophy, like one stupid thing every day. Not that they would do a stupid thing, but we're not afraid to do something that might look stupid because we're going to try crazy stuff.
Like the undercover fan.
It's one of the reasons, and Iffy the Dopester, which I know predated Gene, but I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Free Press Sports Department has been so good over the years.
Used to be good? Is that what you're saying?
I said has been good over the years. That includes currently. I'm trying to be gracious here. But when we had some quality columnists. Good old days. But
no, we did used to have really good columnists.
But I think
that's no longer the case.
I think the philosophy was let's try it. And I think that Dan Campbell has brought that same approach to the Lions. And I think it's really
a good philosophy for anything. Just try something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, do what he did yesterday. He said, I failed. I didn't have them ready, and I'm going to spend however long, and we're going to figure out what happened and why, and we're going to move forward. He said he went through the stages of grief. He said he was devastated Saturday night. He was angry Sunday, and by Monday, he's like, okay, let's move. Let's go back to work.
Boy, I think I don't follow the Lions that closely, but he'd be the last guy I blame for the way the season went. I think they're here.
But when you're head coach.
When you're the head coach and you can't, and your team looks like it's just a little bit off and you couldn't figure out how to prevent that, of course you're going to hold yourself responsible.
Well, I'd like to see Dan Campbell and Shawn in the ring. Maybe
maybe Dan Campbell, I don't know, running the state or the country or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that's just what we need, a big loser running the state. Good job. Good call, Shawn. That's what we need.
Somebody that actually cares about things. By the way, did Trump really make $50 billion in some kind of a
with his meme coin?
Yeah.
Meme coin, yeah. And Melania has one too. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I understand any of it.
I don't know how that works.
Or care.
Is that real?
Well, it's
why doesn't Elric make a Bitcoin for us, on behalf of us?
And then pull the rug.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it.
I'll settle for a robust Patreon supporters group.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Because we bring them something of real value.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Some podcast producers might think that planning for retirement can be a pain in the butt. It doesn't have to be that way. If your preparations from A to G are a resounding failure, maybe let Luke Nowacki help you out with your preparation H. Hopefully he can provide some relief in your time of pain and confusion. You can call or text Luke at 248-663-4748. And we encourage you to do so because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
Now, I went to go talk to Luke and Zach about a Roth IRA, and they came up with some pretty exciting and interesting plans. So join me out there. Come see the boys. Let's see what they can do for you. So Shawn mentioned
I did
a politician a minute ago. And for this week's Geek, I want to kind of take a step back and say there are a lot of people who have lost faith in our politics, who feel disconnected. What? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't understand that.
Marc. I have to pull away the shroud so you can see things clearly now. And I remember a candidate who criticized his predecessor for issuing a lot of executive orders, and we're not going to do business by doing executive orders. That candidate was Donald John Trump, and he was criticizing Barack Obama. When he became president, he said, I'm going to do a lot of executive orders. Then he was replaced by a guy named Joseph Biden. Some people remember this fellow. He may even remember himself, although we're not sure how competent he is these days. And he said he wasn't going to pardon his son. He didn't think that was appropriate, that he'd need to do that. And then what did he do? He pardoned his son. And then he said that my family hasn't done anything wrong, and the people on the January 6th Commission haven't done any wrong, and General Milley hasn't done anything wrong, and all these people, I want to give them a preemptive pardon. And a lot of those people said, I don't need one because I didn't do anything wrong. And what did he do? He gave him a pardon on his way out the door. Something he said. Actually, I guess that when he said he was thinking about it, but I kind of think if you didn't do anything, why do you need to be pardoned? And then we have another guy, he's replaced Biden. You may remember him. We mentioned him, name of Donald John Trump, who said he wanted to ban TikTok because it was invasive. It was a Chinese takeover. It was our personal information being made available to foreign powers. And so the Congress mobilizes and they ban TikTok. And then Joe Biden, who at first wanted to use TikTok, then he decides, okay, this is going to be good for me. I'll ban TikTok. So he bans TikTok.
Well, the TikTok thing is just, okay, so they're a national security threat, and now all of a sudden they're not.
And now Donald Trump says, I'm going to save TikTok.
Yeah, but can he?
So
it's just
this isn't a shot at Trump. It's not a shot at Biden. It's not a shot at Trump. It's not a shot at pardons, although the pardons are disgraceful.
Bullshit from both of them.
Yeah, and pardoning these January 6 people who, hurt people, crazy.
And preemptive pardons, it's all garbage.
It's all terrible. And if we believe in the rule of law, let's let these cases go. So listen, I don't think Hunter Biden would have been prosecuted if he wasn't Biden's son. But guess what? We don't prosecute everybody who commits a crime. But when we prosecute you, if the facts support the conviction, you're convicted. Yeah. Donald Trump, they probably wouldn't have gone after somebody else for some of his business stuff, but they went after him. And it turns out the facts supported a conviction. So that's the way it goes. Tough. Don't put yourself in the crosshairs if you don't want to get shot. Maybe that's not the right thing to say after Butler. Anyway, this isn't about these guys individually. It's about the fact that they say something and they insist that it's true and it's how they really feel. And then they realize that actually the opposite is in their best interest, not in our best interest, because when they flip-flop like this, they undermine our confidence in their leadership and in our government. And
So what's the Geek of the Week?
Shawn Windsor. So we have had so many recent and vivid examples of politicians doing the exact opposite of what they said they would do strictly because they thought it was in their best interest. Well, I think Shawn kind of cut to the chase. They are our Geek of the Week.
No, the pardon is.
Which one? What? Wait,
the idea of the pardon. Unless somebody's on, to me, the president should be able to get somebody off death row, and that's it. If somebody's life's in danger and you want to pardon because there are mistakes made, and there are people sometimes that get there that shouldn't be there. But that's it.
I could back that, but I don't like any of them. So,
just like a governor, if you want to get somebody off death row because there was a mistake, fine. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
But that's usually with a lot of evidence and time.
Exactly.
Preemptively,
you can't pardon your pals. You can't. I mean, the preemptive stuff. I mean, I sort of understand it because
it's bullshit. It's
ridiculous. I mean, I understand that in theory. If presidents are going to start,
I was hoping we'd wrap up this Geek of the Week fast.
Going after, a president's going to start coming in and going after political, making,
Rick, don't ever be mad
revenge.
when he's participating.
Yeah, damn. Anyway, can we skip the song?
No,
because this is more interesting.
These kids today. TikTok, crystal meth, ecstasy,
XTC.
Oh, Andrew Partridge. If you are looking for a great time just about any night of the week, let me suggest you join me on the east side, where we love to hang out at the Caju Cafe. Every Wednesday, it's karaoke. That means you get to do a little singing. And if you sing like me, everybody else gets to do a little drinking. It really helps. On Thursday, the Bill Meyer Group Trio will be performing. There's blues jam. Friday, David Wyans PI. Saturday, Lamont Zodiac. Sunday, Planet D No Nay. And on Monday, it's Muscle Madness, all you can eat mussels. Great menu at the Caju Cafe. The kitchen is open late. They have feather bowling, just about the only place in America you can go feather bowling. And lots of great times. So check out the Caju Cafe at cajucafe.com for more on what's going on there. We will have a link to their website on our website. That's mlsoulofdetroit.com. We'll also have a link to Luke Nowacki's website there. So check out our advertiser. When you contact them, when you see them, let them know that you know about them because you heard about them right here. We do have a great suggestion from Room 7609 from Todd, who says
very topical.
It is. These listeners are really nailing it. He says, my personal pick for Geek of the Week is State Farm Insurance. Like, well, wait a minute, Geek of the Week, we just did that. In fact, Shawn's still going over it. And then people say, pardon me. It's like, you mean, excuse me? I don't want to pardon nobody unless they kill somebody.
He's looking at his phone. What's on your phone? What's on your phone right now that's so exciting?
Nikki Glazer's talking about DJ Khaled not eating pussy.
Well, thanks for keeping it sophisticated.
He is like a child. He has no attention span.
Yeah.
No, it's the Room 7609, and hopefully it'll be over in 20 minutes.
It's a good story, though. It's very topical.
Okay.
I don't know.
He was making fun of me.
It's just disrespectful to Todd.
He was making fun of me.
Frankly, disrespectful to everybody named Todd.
I like Todd.
Why do all Todds hate you now?
He was making fun of me.
To all the people who are suffering in Los Angeles, we want to apologize on behalf of Shawn. He says, I left a green jacket there. I figured I'd burn your ass down since I don't know whose it was. Anyway.
It's such a bad impersonation.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Should we have a Shawn Windsor impersonation contest someday?
We could do Elric.
We still
could do Elric.
We still have the Butterfield.
Yep.
Hi.
Fascinating.
Ow, that hurt. That was a
one shot knockout.
Shot at me, man.
Michael
Don't bend
Spinks.
over.
Yeah, because
I
would have pulled that trigger.
Don't bend over.
Michael Spinks was standing along.
It'll hurt your back.
Todd says that his Geek of the Week would be State Farm Insurance, who canceled or did not renew people's policies shortly before the LA fires started. Therefore, I'd like to suggest Yazoo's State Farm for this week's entry into the New Wave Suite. If Shawn feels the urge to breakdance during this song, make sure to get his poppin' and lockin' on camera. And I would suggest that we get the defibrillator charged up. And without further ado, here's Yazoo. Go!
Get, boy, get, go! No, boy!
brain and you need to be cleaned up. Go! And don't it make you feel good? And don't it make you feel good?
I think people in California, if they were talking to State Farm, would say the name of another Yazoo hit. Don't go. Because we need you. Because our shit got burned to the ground and we got.
I thought you were going to say when they
coverage.
heard State Farm, they were going to say Beelzebub or something like that.
No, even I wouldn't say that.
Okay, can you? What is that reference? I
No, don't make him explain it. We got to
I
get
know,
out
I
of
kinda
it.
wanna
They're the
know.
devil.
Oh,
Beelzebub. Yeah, okay.
yeah. Is that a B-side from one of the Yazoo songs?
Yeah,
Is
no. Well, you were talking about
Sean's extensive collection of 45s over there.
Thank you, Todd. That was fun.
I mean,
like
State
that.
Farm.
I
didn't-
like that group.
State Farm didn't start the fire.
That's Billy Joel.
No, he didn't start it either.
Oh shit! It was always burning.
Yeah, we didn't.
He said nobody started. Actually, Billy Joel said
Since-
nobody started.
Since
the
the
fire.
world's been turning.
We didn't start the fire.
Who covered? We didn't start the
Do
fire.
you think that if Billy
Was
Joel
it Fall Out Boy? I think.
Well, here's my question. If Billy Joel came and played at Comerica Park or Ford Field, would they chant? Would they chant? I know. Would they chant Jared Goff?
Yes. Well, now would
Maybe
they
not
or
now.
before? Now I don't know if they will.
Jameer Gibbs.
Amen Ross.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sure.
Just curious.
Who is the most popular player on that team?
Dan Campbell.
most popular player in the
No, he is.
No,
He-
seriously.
a lot of times when you see the
Nobody's
Lions
going to wear a
promo,
Dan Campbell jersey, though.
I saw there
Hutchinson, maybe?
I saw a playoff preview on the Ringer, the sports site, national sports site, and they were doing different teams. And you know whose face they used for the Lions? It was Campbell.
Well, I understand.
He's their biggest star. It's
Okay,
really-
let me
it's really something.
rephrase it because I'm at the game and I'm looking around at people wearing jerseys, and it's like there's so many players. This is how you know you have a good team. There's so many players to buy jerseys of.
There are a ton of them.
Branch, there were Branch jerseys.
They got like
Hutchinson,
10, 11.
Sewell.
They have 10 or 11 Pro Bowl level players.
Laporta. So I'm
about
like, who is the most popular player? And I thought about it, and I'm sitting around
Probably
looking.
Goff,
I think
but
it's St. Brown.
It might be.
I think people love Amon Ra that much,
and they love Sewell too.
Sewell, yeah, I would have
You
gotten.
don't
a
think
Sewell.
Hutchinson's up there?
Hutchins is, but he didn't play this.
Yeah.
He played 5 games.
I'll tell you what, Gibbs have one more. If Gibbs plays all the next year like he
It'll
did this
be
past
Gibbs.
year, it might be him
because of the position. Yeah,
and how funny it is to watch.
Well,
right?
plus he got showcased when Montgomery went down. You're like, holy smokes! I mean, when you talk about Brad Holmes,
he was the one highlight on Saturday.
yeah, Brad Holmes had a pretty good running back, and he said, "No, I can do better." And people are like, I don't know, man, this doesn't seem like a good pick. Holy crap! Did that turn out to be a smart?
Remember
move.
that famous video from the draft where how pumped up they were when they drafted him and they're high fiving each other and everyone's like, "Oh, running back this early." I mean, they knew. That's why they have the job and I don't.
They did.
Yeah, and the running back they'd picked before that was a pretty good running back. So yeah, no, but so Room 7609. Sorry, let's get back.
Yeah,
to
good story. A good song. Good
Sean won't be happy if we don't.
No, it's a
get
good
back
song.
to this.
Yeah, it's
so
good. Yeah.
please, we love it when you give us a suggestion and a story. You can send those to mlsoulofdetroit at gmail.com.
Thank you, Todd.
As Todd did. So thank you, Todd.
Trying to get back in Todd's good graces, are you, Sean? Huh?
Why? What happened?
Well, he wanted to
Something
see you
happened?
popping and locking.
Oh, sorry, Todd. But good song, Todd.
Yeah,
Thanks for the recommendation.
When it comes to breakdancing, Sean's street name is Shabba Don't.
Oh boy.
Okay.
That was
not Shabadoo.
That's it. No. Okay. Nothing. All right. Sorry.
It was just bad.
If you pop and lock in the 80s, you have to have an earring that dangles down almost to your shoulder, your collarbone, right? Just one earring, though, a dangler.
I guess so. I don't know.
Did they pop and lock in the 80s or did they just do the robot?
Yeah, no, pop
Oh,
and
they
lock.
were pop and lock.
Sure,
That's when it
yeah,
started. Was in the
absolutely.
80s.
Absolutely.
Breaking. What's the breakdance movie?
Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo?
Oh.
Or Breaking?
Breaking? Is it just Breaking?
Breaking's the first one. Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
So what year was that? early 90s or late 80s?
No,
Early 80s.
Early 80s.
That was
83 maybe
80s.
for breaking. Yeah.
It was definitely in the early.
So that's what I thought. Yeah, it started in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have 2 trivia questions for you now. One of them we think we might be able to get the answer to. The other one I don't know. Who was the last Lions head coach to become a head coach somewhere else after he left the Lions? Here's
Nobody
the other
cares.
one. When was the last time an insurance company went out of business or wasn't profitable?
Yeah.
Can anybody think of one?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about them leaving California, State Farm leaving California, they weren't the only one. There was another agency. Dude, they wanted to raise their rates, and the state doesn't allow them to do that.
Now, Now, I think in Florida,
I've just never heard people support an insurance company ever, and now you're hearing that with the fires. It's like, well, they couldn't operate their business. It's odd to hear somebody defend an insurance company.
Well, up until not that long ago, it was odd when we had a natural disaster to have national political figures not show empathy and use it as a excuse to play politics. North Carolina was the same way.
But we know what that is, right?
That never used to be that way.
That's just noise.
It never used to be that way.
That's just noise. Those people are still. You still see the good stories of people rallying around to help these people.
I mean, even when Bush took some heat for Katrina, it took a minute.
Sure.
Right. But before.
Yeah. And I think you're doing a heck of a job, Brownie. I think everyone agrees that when George W. Bush had trouble dealing with Hurricane Katrina, it was more a matter of competence rather than retribution or some sort of if you don't do this, we won't do that. And the thing about negotiations is it's not really a win when you're negotiating with people who have no position whatsoever. When you say you're going to do exactly what we tell you or we're not going to give you shit, that's not negotiating. That's dictating terms. And it's really, really not a cool thing to do when people are suffering. And frankly, the parts of California that burned, I got a feeling there's quite a few Republicans who own those homes because, they weren't the cheaper ones. So,
and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
He was doing a heck of a job, that Brownie. So anyway, thanks, Todd. We always look forward to your suggestions. Speaking of financial aid, here's the part of the show where we thank all of our contributors.
Oh, nice.
We're done. That's it. No,
oh, okay.
We didn't have anything.
Well, we're going a little bit long, probably because I'm back. That's my fault.
No, it's okay.
Glad you're back.
Yeah, Sean's like, another thing on that Geek of the Week. We have not had any new soulmates in a while, so we would encourage you to please become a Patreon supporter of the show. If you want to be a one-time donor, you can just go to our website, hit the donate button, and you can give by Venmo or by PayPal, one-time donation. We appreciate it. If you want to become a regular supporter, you can go to Patreon, or if you want to be sort of an occasional Patreon supporter, well, guess what? Marc has set it up so that you can purchase a la carte. Marc, what can people get as a one-time only deal?
What if you want to buy from Patreon or I mean any episode, any video of an episode, you can just individually purchase it if you really want to see Shawn.
And who wouldn't?
That's worth it.
His decimated spine.
I thought you were going to say desiccated.
That's all available at Patreon. If you just want to donate, just go to mlsoladetroit.com. There's a link at the top, PayPal and Venmo.
And you can
and we appreciate it deeply.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get that bonus episode with a $5 a month regular contribution, or you can purchase individual bonus episodes if it's something you're really dying to see and you're like, I don't know about these guys every month, but this one I'm willing to shell out a fin for. So check that out. We have a little bit of feedback here. If you didn't see my column on Sunday, I wrote about a new entry into the mayor's race. Sontil Jenkins, who is known as the CEO of Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund. Mm-hmm. She's a former city council president, meaning now the only 2 declared candidates for mayor are both city council.
Is she the one that hired Christine Beatty and then wrote the op-ed?
Yes, okay. And I was going to say her other role is she is a best friend of Christine Beatty, who gave her a job at this nonprofit that's supposed to help people keep the heat and the lights on. Christine Beatty got this job. It's a good paying job, and has not made any restitution towards the money she owes the people of Detroit. The money she said she would pay the people of Detroit, the money she said she's going to pay the people of Detroit when she got a good job. Well, she's now had one. And Christine Beatty, we don't know what role she'll play in Sontiel Jenkins' campaign. Now, if you read my column, you saw me talk about things like, is it going to be an advisory role? Because Christine Beattie was one of the people who was running the city when we went into bankruptcy. And Sontiel has said, well, I was happy to hire Chris at Thaw, where we use other people's money to help people, but I wouldn't hire to work for the city of Detroit, which is odd because she argued that Thaw's purpose is in part to give people a second chance. Well, it doesn't say that's their purpose anywhere on their website, and it's the first I've ever heard of it. But the city of Detroit does have the stated purpose of being a second chance employer, where they want to give people a chance who have had a mistake to try again. So totally and utterly contradictory. Sontiel wouldn't talk about it. Chris wouldn't talk about it, but I discuss it, and some other things about Beattie's time in City Hall that's worth looking at. Also talk about some of the other mayoral candidates. We're expected to have a major entry into the race from a predominant pastor, and I think that's what Katrina is talking about in her feedback this month. She says, "Hi, gang. While reading ML's new column on the mayoral candidates, I Googled where that suburban pastor lives." I think she's referring to Solomon Kinlock of Triumph Church, who moved to Detroit in the past year or so, because you have to live here to run for mayor. She says the pastor doesn't conceal his exurb bona fides. He also has social media highlighting his only child graduating from Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. His family lives in a $1.5 million McMansion in Oakland Township, way out by Silver Bell Road. I don't know. I'll have to check that out myself. I thought he lived in Southfield. But at any rate, Katrina says to put that into perspective, the pastor lives closer to Lapeer or Imlay City Halls than Coleman Young Municipal Center, which, of course, is our city hall in downtown Detroit. Best, Katrina. Well, Solomon Kinlock, if he does enter the race, as expected, he would be the second candidate for mayor who just moved from the suburbs to run for mayor, which I always find rich, because when I ran for city council after living in the city for 20 years, people are like, "Oh, you just moved here to run for city council?" I'm like, no. And people don't like that, but they voted for Mike Duggan anyway, so maybe things are changing. I don't know. But I don't know. We'll be looking more at the mayor's race and the candidates and asking them some hard questions and telling you the sort of things that you probably want to know before you make your decision at the Free Press. So please consider subscribing. Right now it's 10 cents to subscribe for a month, and I think we have a deal where you can subscribe for a year for $45, which is like less than $4 a month, which is a really good deal, because if you go pick up a copy at the newsstand, which everybody does on Monday to see what Shawn's written about the previous weekend's activities, I think it costs like $3.50 or something. So
great deal.
Subscribe to the Free Press. Support my work. Support Shawn's work. And if you're one of those people who calls and say, "Hey, I got a great story for you," and we tell you, "Well, we don't have enough reporters to get to it," why don't you subscribe so we can hire some more reporters and get to your stories?
I assume that's what, Shawn, you're looking at right now on your phone.
I am doing work.
Shawn never stops. He's like a shark. He swims.
He's like a teenager
and eats.
No. I'm just reading about stuff for work. You know, as I'm listening to as Mike, but I'm trying to do some work too. I got to write soon about the Lions again.
So, Shawn, we have another hour before we sign off. No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's good to see you guys. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good having you back.
Shawn, what do you do now
No.
that the Lions are done?
You know what I do. Why don't you
No,
just tell people
but I mean, you've been traveling all over the country.
What I do. I've gone anywhere.
God, I wish I knew.
That reminds me.
Come here and catch up on your sleep.
That reminds me. I try to. That reminds me, especially when you're talking. That reminds me.
That was kind of hurtful.
I'm sorry. Well, you just said I wasn't paying attention. Now you made me forget that. That reminds me.
Totally focused.
I got to cancel the New Orleans ticket. I got to do that. Damn.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's sad.
We bought these a while ago because we wanted, trying to be good, dutiful Gannetsters, because we weren't going to spend $3,000 if we waited until they actually made the Super Bowl.
Now, do you guys get travel insurance where you can get a full refund, or you just get a credit to use it later?
You get a credit to use it later, and you might lose. Depends on your status. I don't know. You might lose $70.
Okay.
I thought you had a year to fly.
You do.
Right?
You do. No, it's totally worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally worth it, because I don't know. We got tickets for $400-500. Yeah. They would have been I can imagine what it would be, a couple of grand at least.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tom would tell you. I just don't think we have the time to get that full explanation.
Yeah, but anyway, so all good. Pistons. We got 3 good basketball teams in the area: the Michigan State, and the Pistons. The Pistons are, I don't know if we'd say they're good, but they're improving. The Red Wings are sort of interesting. Spring trainings among pitchers and catchers report. What, a month away?
The Pistons are at least entertaining to watch now.
Yeah, they are. They're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Scooble just re-signed.
Well, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
Boy, I wonder if he has a chance at the Heisman. Do you know anybody who has any thoughts on that, Sean?
The Heisman or the Cy Young?
The Cy Young, whatever it is. Well, I don't know. He probably blew his chance at the Heisman
but what's really
that first
fun,
game. There's no chance.
It's fun to say that after a game 1 of a 162-game season. That's what's most impressive about a prediction like that.
Yeah.
That takes some chutzpah. Yeah.
Or chutzpah, maybe, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you going to become a college basketball dog now, or are you going to go see the Pistons? Okay.
Both, all of it, yeah.
Did you expect Michigan to be this good, this fast?
No, I didn't know that Michigan State would be this good.
I knew that, but
I thought they had a chance to be better, but Michigan's good, man. Those 2 big guys are fun.
Yeah. Another fun team to watch.
They are.
Especially when they turn over the ball 20 times a game.
They're fun. They're fun. They're fun. So, the young Pistons have taken a little pride in this city. And if they truly do have the seeds of the next great Pistons team, and they might. And they got moves to make around the margins, and they got to figure out some things. I don't want to go down that road. But look, what's fun about it is that they will be the 3rd iteration of a very specifically Detroit kind of team for the Pistons. You had the bad boys that go into work, and if these guys turn into something, it'll be very Detroit in a way that I think people just love.
So is this an indictment of Monty Williams, the fact they're this much better this year than they were?
The roster's better too. It's not. Yes, Monty Williams was checked out last year. JB Bickerstaff's done a great job with them, but the roster's better. But I think to Marc's point, I don't know how much they have to start winning to get the casual fans back, but they are kind of fun.
They're on the edge of that right now.
They are on the edge of that. Yeah, they are, and it's fun when a young team starts to show, these guys might be interesting. That's a fun time.
And I don't follow the NBA very closely, but it does seem like a lot of these legendary teams are getting very, very old, and there's an opportunity for somebody to move in there and say, "Hey,
the league is changing, and
town."
They've got some issues. The ratings are down. There's also some stuff. But the way the Pistons play, they could be the kind of team that could become galvanizing in a way. We'll see. It's a few years away from that, but we'll see.
Okay, and Shawn will be there in the front row.
Yeah.
Or in the press row.
Yeah.
What, you guys sit in the front row for basketball?
Hockey, college basketball, everything but football. So we're good.
Okay. Sorry about the football. We thought we had another couple weeks left, but I guess we don't.
We did.
So we will be back next week. We appreciate you sticking with us. And until then, we turn to Cyrus to, like the Commanders did to the Lions, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Oh, a Shaggy Lion story. He sleeps in bed, rides out on safari, and loves grip. Ooh. Want to have fun? Join that swinging cat. He's got it made. Wild, wacky, exciting, riotous entertainment for the entire family. The Cross-Eyed Lion, fabulous in Metro color.